Hi, welcome to the Crafts channel. My name's Corinne Brad and today I'd like to show you the free gift that you get with issue 117 of PaperCrafter magazine, and it's a real bumper pack of stamps that are great for birthdays, parties. We have the tea and cake stamp set, and we've also got the bonus sentiment stamp set, which is brilliant for all of your cards because if your handwriting's like mine and it's not really up to scratch, you can just stamp out a greeting instead. So I'll show you how easy it is to use these stamps. Let me just open the packet. And these are clear self-cling stamps. So what you will need to do is get yourself an acrylic block. You can buy these from good craft shops, or if you've got a leftover bit of Perspex from the garden shed, you can trim that down. That snaps quite easily if you score it first of all, and you can make your own stamp blocks. But just make sure you've got something that's big enough to fit your stamps onto, because you know there's nothing worse than trying to stamp and part of it's hanging off the edge of it. The other thing it's worth doing, especially with stamps like this cake stand, is just checking on a gridded cutting mat that you haven't sort of put it on at an angle. I mean, I know that's very extreme, but sometimes because they're flexible, you might find that you know, your tiers of your cake stand aren't quite right. So I'm going to stamp it out on a piece of good quality cream card, and I'm going to use a pigment ink pad, and instead of doing black, because I find black quite harsh sometimes, I've used a sepia, so you've got a dark enough outline without it appearing, you know, really stark on that cream card. And hold your block on the sides, put it down cleanly and apply some pressure before you lift it away, and you've got that nice clear image. Another tip, depending on how quickly your ink dries, I mean under these lights my ink's drying fairly quickly, if you just get a piece of plain bond paper and run over the top of it like this, so it takes away any excess ink. Oh, that has dried altogether. And then you can colour it in. Now if you've reached a certain age like I have, you will find sometimes that you do need a pair of reading glasses to help you colour in, otherwise you go outside the lines. These are twin tip alcohol markers, and I've just got a piece of scrap card there just to double check the colour before I use it to colour in my cake stand, because sometimes they're not always true to the lids and it's really annoying if something comes out darker than you thought it was going to. And with alcohol markers, sometimes you might find that if your ink hasn't dried fully, your alcohol marker might react with the print. So be careful how you colour. Pencils you're a lot safer with, because obviously pencils aren't liquid. They're not going to make any difference whatsoever. But try and avoid scrubbing over the top of your printed design, because if you do that you may well end up smudging that ink that you've already put in there. And especially if you've got like a bullet tip, it's quite easy to stay within the lines without actually rubbing against the lines. It's very simple to cut out, to colour in. I'm not going to colour all of it in, but what I'm going to show you is one that I made earlier. Let's just take them off a sec. So I've just mounted that on a piece of coloured cardstock, put it on a card blank, and then what I've done is I've used the individual stamps, like this lovely pineapple cake stamp. Just pop that back on the sheet so I don't lose it. So stamp out your cake, like so. Just blot it, colour it with a, that'll do. I'm only going to roughly colour this. Just to give you an indication of the detail that's on the stamp. And then once your ink is dry, you can simply cut around the outside of the cake with a pair of scissors. Now I've said this before, these scissors must look enormous to people for cutting out a tiny little cake like this. But I mean, especially, I mean, I've got carpal tunnel syndrome in this wrist. I find that if I do a lot of cutting out, my wrists get really painful. But if you use a bigger pair of scissors, there's actually less stress on your hand, and I find it much easier to control the cut with a large pair of scissors than with a tiny pair. So I think the biggest pair of scissors I've got of these are about 10 inches long now, and they're fantastic. And you can also cut wallpaper with them as well, which is an added bonus. So there you've got a little mini cut-out cake to go with your little mini cake stand. And in true Blue Peter fashion, I have several cakes that I have cut out previously. So I'm just going to arrange these on my cake stand. There's a little tiny glue dot on the back of each of these, which is how they're magically staying put. And you can see the detailing. You know, even these tiniest cakes here, these little tiny cupcakes with the hearts on, they've got really pretty decorated cupcake cases on them, and they're not that difficult to colour in. Little tiny strawberries. As I say, the detail is great on these, and little tiny rosebuds just to add a finishing touch. I'm not going to stick all of these on here, it will take all day. But it, you know, you can build up your cake design to make any kind of card that you fancy, and there's plenty of ideas in the magazine of other cards that you can make with the kit. Here's another cake stand here. Little invitation tags. And as I say, you can combine the sentiment stamps as well to make these cards. So have fun with them. Say, all the information that you need to get hold of your copy of the magazine will be in the description below. And let us know how you get on. We'd love to see the cards that you've made using this great kit. See you next time. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.